During English class, Nishikata was secretly doing something else, when suddenly his desk mate asked, "What are you doing?" Nishikata hurriedly hid, claiming he was not doing anything. But how could he escape her piercing gaze? It came out that Nishikata was creating paper, which would be completed once placed in the box. His strategy was working rather well. Takagi just wait and see. But, surprise, he discovered that Takagi was unable to open the pencil case. Takagi approached him for assistance. He took it and opened it, and it was shockingly simple. So he got duped as well. "You are receiving a taste of your own medicine." Suddenly, she yelled, and the teacher caught him red-handed. Takagi was really pleased with what she had just done, while Nishikata, the young man, was furious. He had not expected to be backstabbed. Even with the trick he was planning, he decided to adjust his plans for the following time. He would undoubtedly disgrace Takagi because he failed to bring an eraser. Takagi requested to borrow it from Nishikata. Now he thought the opportunity had arrived. It appears she even forgot an eraser. What a clumsy individual. However, Takagi was quite courteous and thanked him. The young man simply pouted. Takagi then mentioned writing the name of someone she loves on an eraser. Then use it completely, and love will be returned. Nishikata assumed that only children would think like that. Takagi opened the eraser's packaging and peered intently at it. The young man continued to sulk. He couldn't imagine himself doing something so foolish. Takagi had gotten him into this. Now he was pondering, did I actually write it? Oh my god. He totally forgot. Oh my god. The young man continued to shiver and nervously asked, "Please return it to me, friend." He returned it and quickly checked, but there was nothing written on it. He also observed that Takagi had brought an eraser as well. So they both proceeded to get chastised by the teacher for creating noise. Takagi got another round of laughter and decided that was enough for today. She requested the teacher for permission to use the restroom. However, Nishikata was determined to shame Takagi. He noticed Takagi's eraser left on the desk and decided to scribble a random name on it. But then he realized something was already written on it. He wasn't sure if he should look at it. However, when the young man saw it, he was taken aback because it was not his name. "What is wrong, my dear?"
Sigh.
But then he had the guts to open it and look. And lo and behold, inside, he was directed to look outside the hallway. Takagi was already standing outside. "Oh no, I've been played again."
Such a shame.
Takagi returned to her seat, continuing to taunt the young man. "Home is home. Our house is very packed. Home is home. Our home is filled of memories." New Pikachu. Takagi was also looking forward to the day. Nishikata believed Takagi would psychologically prepare herself. Takagi, however, appeared to have squandered a golden opportunity because two words, Nishi, were written in the corner of the eraser. But he refused to let her see it. The next day, Nishikata couldn't figure out why he had arrived so early for class. He flipped the card immediately. He thought he'd been lucky by arriving early, thinking he'd found money, but it turned out to be a game card, which he discarded. He figured coming early would allow him to play with Takagi's desk. Just thinking about that made him feel so clear-headed, but then he realized Takagi had already arrived for class. However, when he opened the door, no one was present. Could he have imagined it?
But no.
His keen observation skills detected Takagi's presence. She must be hiding someplace. Then he saw Takagi's sneakers. He assumed Takagi was trying to terrify him as he was scrubbing the board. He intended to implement the local tiger leaves the mountain technique. Takagi must be desperate, I reasoned. But how could Takagi have made such a simple mistake? No way. It needed to be a mannequin. Takagi must be someplace near here. The young man stepped out to inspect the corridor. The only place left is the classroom cupboard. So he pretended to be heading out to the restroom. He was determined to exact retribution no matter what. However, there was no one inside. He also went to look at the shoes. And, fact, there was no one, so he became frustrated. What the heck am I doing? Seriously? Takagi appeared from behind the drapes, scaring him. He nearly slipped and landed face first. Nishikata hadn't expected her to be behind the curtain. He was still irritated seeing Takagi so happy. Takagi was also relieved that her early morning alarm had not gone unnoticed. Takagi called out Nishikata after a little pause. With only the two of them, the entire class remained silent. It felt as if they were the only two people in the world. He didn't anticipate anyone else to arrive. Suddenly, 3 companions appeared. Mina was really excited, but the other 2 told her to stop. Nishikata was perplexed at what he had just thought. Takagi reminded him of the late arrival. The young man realized he had not done anything yet. During the break, he still wasn't sure how to go past Takagi. Nakai didn't understand why he was staring in the mirror. Nishikata appeared clueless. Nishikata suddenly realized what he should do and made a ridiculous expression, which caused Nakai to giggle uncontrollably. The lesson continued. Nishikata decided to make a funny look to make Takagi laugh. The young man intended to wait for Takagi to initiate a discussion with him. Following that, he would say, "Come on, little girl. Say something pleasant to me." Then Takagi called out for him. Nishikata quickly gave a stupid expression. However, Takagi did not respond at all. She even brought out a mirror to inspect Nishikata's appearance. So the young man began laughing at himself. The teacher then continued to reprimand him. Takagi finally decided to laugh. She even taught Nishikata how to create goofy faces.
Huh.
What the heck am I doing? I thought I was mocking someone, but now I am being taught how to do it. This is quite humiliating. Takagi believed Nishikata should face upwards in order to laugh. The young man took her advice, only to discover the teacher waiting for him. The teacher grinned softly but suddenly remembered something, so he hurled some nasty comments. Takagi continued to dupe Nishikata. The young man knew he had been duped again. Nishikata believed that if he made the teacher further angrier, he would be doomed. So he made a firm decision not to do anything else. But how could the young man keep back? He kept laughing at Takagi's mocking. As a result, he was reprimanded and lost against Takagi again. The lesson for the day was calligraphy. The teacher asked students to write words they liked and submit them at the end of class. Nishikata wasn't sure what to write. Takagi persisted in suggesting that he write a word for the person opposite. Nishikata came to believe it was the word "don't tease," a message to prevent her from taunting him again. But wouldn't it have the opposite effect sometimes? After a while, they had both completed penning their sentences. Takagi's looked like this. Nishikata demonstrated self-control. Takagi believed Nishikata intended her to be like this. Nishikata speculated that Takagi might not have fully understood the concept. So he turned and asked Takagi. Takagi intended to continue taunting him like way. The young man recognized that this was exactly what Takagi wanted. So he decided to ask Takagi to collaborate on another writing project. This time, he'd assault. The young man was extremely intelligent. Takagi had still not figured it out. She turned to express that she admired Nishikata's handwriting. The young man dropped his pen as soon as he heard this. However, Takagi soon seized it. He also thought, "This is strange. I feel like I have suddenly improved." Now he wondered, could I be wrong? Takagi is actually very kind. Takagi even asked him to be still for a moment. Nishikata's face appeared weird. Everyone in the class had completed their part. Nishikata then presented his writing first.
Do not tease me.
Takagi simply mentioned that his penmanship was nice. Then Takagi's turn. There was ink on her face. Takagi touched his face as expected, but he didn't expect her to reply. Try not to tease me. Finally, both of them wrote, "Don't let your guard down." The next day, they attended the next English class. The plan for vengeance against Takagi persisted. Nishikata had not worked it out yet. When the teacher called his name, he wasn't paying attention and didn't know what to say. Takagi reminded him it was number 16. The young man responded, and a bit of chalk was flung at him immediately. Because this was English, the teacher requested him to translate. Takagi intended he should read the 16th line. Nishikata realized he'd been duped again. Takagi repeatedly teased Nishikata. She assumed he was plotting revenge on her. Nishikata wasn't sure if he had figured it out yet. The young man confessed immediately. "I have the ideal strategy." Takagi hoped that it would work. She asked Nishikata to give some ideas regarding the plan. Unexpectedly, he learned it was the 18th. Takagi's number was also 18. He decided to get Takagi into trouble over the textbook. What did you eat for lunch today, Takagi? Sweet potato rice. Takagi said, just the usual. Takagi thought sweet potatoes were extremely healthful. Nishikata asked Takagi in return, but he wanted him to guess. Takagi guessed that it was rice. Then he assumed Takagi had been inattentive during the class. Just as Nishikata had predicted, the teacher dialed number 18. Yes, the plan worked. I've got her. I've got her. But Takagi responded extremely accurately. Failure.
Sigh.
Takagi sensed Nishikata was still thinking about her. The young man quickly rejected it. How could I be thinking of you?
Come on.
But Takagi believed he was constantly thinking about her. Nishikata reasoned, you must be thinking about teasing me, right? And all he could do was remain quietly and listen to her gentle speech. June 18th adds up to 24. It was Nishikata's number again. He headed to the swimming pool. But because his hand was wounded, Nishikata couldn't swim, which seemed unfair. Takagi claimed she suffered the same fate, although she knew why Nishikata had injured his hand. He had been caring for stray cats and was bitten. It turned out to be a random guess, but it was correct. Takagi let out another round of laughs. Nishikata noticed Takagi grasping her stomach. He knew what girls would remark about not being able to swim around that time of the month. Takao from physical education class had stated something similar to him. He opted not to ask because he thought it was a sensitive matter. Takagi knew Nishikata wanted to know why she couldn't swim. The young man continued to appear confused. Takagi still asked him to make a guess. He reasoned that if it was Takagi's ploy, it must have included a trap. He imagined that saying, "It's that time of the month," would be deemed impolite and embarrassing, but he was scared Takagi would push the conversation in a different way. So, either he'd fall into the trap or tell the truth. Could there be an injury? He wondered. But it didn't appear like one at all, so there must be another reason. Takagi could see Nishikata was simply observing the girls swim. Cut what Kimura said. Could Takagi's insecurity over her chest be the reason she doesn't swim? But could I just speak it aloud like that? I still couldn't think of a rationale that wouldn't be embarrassing. Then, with boldness, I responded, "It's because I'm about to start my period." That was really wrong, buddy. Saying something to a girl is extremely inappropriate. You know, the person excused it by claiming it was from a textbook. Could this be due to insecurities?
Oh my.
Then she took off her jeans. She claimed it wasn't because she was ashamed of her small chest. Then Takagi begged for permission to go swimming. Takagi had been tricking and teasing me all along. Takagi also hoped that my arm would heal fast so that we could swim together. The guy was worried about falling into another trap. Are you inviting me to swim only to tease me again? Nishikata noticed that Takagi had taunted him a bit too much. Takagi unexpectedly appeared as well. So they wanted to go home together. And why did they walk home together rather than ride the same bike? And Nishikata invited Takagi to join her for a drink, but the guy misinterpreted it as an indirect kiss. He assumed Takagi was humiliated, but you're mistaken, buddy. What's going on here? Takagi complimented me after drinking, saying it was quite tasty. She also wanted me to continue drinking it. I was just about to drink it when she reminded me of the indirect kiss. So my hand shook and I dropped it. Nishikata scooped it up and threw it in the trash can, but I wasn't expecting it to go in.
Wow.
I tried picking up another can from the street and throwing it again.
Wow.
Could I have a talent for this? Takagi saw this and wanted to try, but she couldn't get inside the garbage bin. When Takagi failed to make the toss, Nishikata felt quite smug. Then we agreed to compete against each other. We'd both throw a can and see who could get it in. Nishikata imposed a requirement. If Takagi won, she could force him to do anything. Takagi hoped I would keep my word. Takagi also had her opportunity to throw, and she succeeded. Now it was Nishikata's time. Could it be that I am being played again? But I determined that I must succeed. I was going to chuck something when Takagi interrupted me. If you win, I will give you your first kiss. Nishikata missed, and the can did not make it. You've lost, friend. That's extremely unfair. You cheated because Takagi did this while I was throwing. But you promised, so you had to take it, friend. Takagi wasn't sure what to have Nishikata do. But after some thought, Takagi decided he didn't want Nishikata to do anything. He understood he couldn't keep thinking that he'd never win. Then he arrived at Nishikata's home. Takagi mentioned that they'd meet again tomorrow. After a day, Nishikata said that he had been teased 15 times today. He changed clothes and switched on the television. He heard a story of a player who faced challenges, yet practiced tenfold harder. And the athlete was confident that he would win next time. The guy immediately thought to himself, I am 15. That multiplied by 10 equals 150. But that is too much. 3 times is sufficient. He started doing push-ups. 1, 2, 3, 4, but by 20 he had collapsed. He interpreted this as punishment for being taunted. I needed to keep going.
Come on.
The next day, he attended class. His arms could no longer raise. Takagi inquired, and Nishikata said that it was from his training, but even simply touching him caused him to cry aloud. Does that count as another time? Takagi was pleased. So he acknowledged that it qualified as teasing. Thank you for watching to this point. This is not the end. For part 2, don't forget to like and subscribe. We got other interesting anime recaps for you. Choose the left or the right video.